Guneet, do you have a mic? So that just screws it up for you now, Guneet. Right? So a movie comes, 1500 crore, now everybody's going to put 500 crore, nobody's going to care about your 5 crore movies, right? And then the theater is going to have all shows of that movie playing from morning till night. Where do you get the outlet for what is quote unquote independent cinema, or at least low budget cinema, or at least cinema that isn't just an event picture?
So, of course, I mean, I stand on the side and celebrate Bahubali. I don't think I'm a part of, or I can comment on that, but it is, for me, it's very heartening that everybody sitting here on the panel is addressing this as Indian cinema. I think a decade in this business, I have gone around showing my films and saying I'm Indian cinema, and people say Bollywood, you know?
Right.
And then you go and show them Udan, or you show them Yellow Boots, or you show them, Lunchbox, or
right.
Masan, and they're like, but what is this? So around the world, we've been talking about Indian cinema, Indian cinema, Indian cinema, cinema from India, and this Bollywood tag that we've had. So I'm just very excited and happy, and I'm rejoicing that there is a bit of, there is not bit, there is a large unity here. And that's defining Indian cinema. So I think the whole country came together to celebrate that. I wanted to point out here that, when Bahubali Part 1 released, I think a couple of weeks later, a Salman Khan movie came, Bajrangi Bhaijaan, and immediately, a week later, came Masan. And it was around the same time. The same month was Bahubali, Bajrangi, and Masan. And of course, we thought that nobody knew the phenomena that Part 1 will be. And it became so big. But we had our shows. I mean, and Masan did what it did in its own small way. It did not cross crores and crores of money, but Masan is something that everybody in the room would remember. And even when you go out, people remember it, appreciate it, love it. It did struck a chord. And I remember having this conversation with our distributor, which was Anil, who was also the distributor of Bahubali, and how he managed to...
Anil Thadani.
Yeah, right. And how he managed to balance this act with every cinema chain owner. But we did manage to carve out a niche. I don't think can even be on the same platform. It's like comparing watermelon to like a carrot. You just can't compare things. So we cannot even talk numbers and compare. But yes, if I have to talk about happiness quotient, taking this from Lunchbox, Masan did create a little dent in people's heart, and of course, Bahubali did also. So yeah, we coexisted. And I think when business can run with one film making money and the other film also upping the happiness quotient of cinema and enjoying it, that's like, I think people make money and then can come back and put that in the business is the best way to be.
So it goes back to the system,
very
so long as it does that.
Yeah.
Amit, I'm going to come to you.
So long as content is recognized across the platform.
Absolutely. Guneet, whether you like it or not, most big cinema industry in the world, and there are actually only two, they are led by stars, because the audience sees the photo in the poster. There's a projection of all their fears and love into one human being, and they just love that person. It's hard to explain why. It's a cosmic relationship between the screen and the movie actor. When you make independent films, and I see that happening gradually, correct me if I'm mistaken, are you able to create some sort of a star system in the sphere that you're in? Have you reached a point where Nawaz in his own space is a star, or a Vicky Kaushal is a star in his own way? Are we reaching that?
Yeah.
Or are you even attempting that in the first place?
I think that threshold has been passed. I mean, Nawaz, Vicky, Richa, Huma, even Pankaj Tripathi, or even Sanjay Mishra, or even, Irfan. I think it's really created, that whole awareness has happened. I mean, where everybody now talks about good actors, and we want good actors, and even to balance a star, or even to put bigger movies together. And this whole thing about big actors not working with new startups is all crossed. So I think it's great. It's a good time. I mean, people are casting AIB and TVF people, and even they have their threshold. So I would always look at the US market and say, okay, there are music guys, there are YouTube guys, there are sports guys, and there are movie stars, and it's massive. And you cast, and there are wrestling people, and you know,
Right.
you always have a certain following, and you can cast across so many people. So it's I think that threshold has been crossed.
So if you were to like put it down in terms of numbers, would you be able to find, say, a growth in terms of trajectory, in terms of how much you can actually spend in a film, say, starring a Nawaz or a TVF champion or a AIB dude? Do you actually have a number there? Like you know for a fact that these guys will show up, this number will show up, so you can make a movie of that budget. Are you there yet?
So, I think a lot about that. And with everything that we've been able to be a part of and create, I've kind of learned that yes, there is a sweet spot of that budget. It's under 5. And of course, the film cannot be A. There is a certain material that the film needs to be in. I mean, I'm talking about completely new guys, or not Rajkumar Rao and Ayushmann Khurrana films.
What's that
now.
number like? 15?
Yeah, I think that's
just check.
10, 12
Sure.
plus PNA. So I think,
Now it can be A.
huh?
There's no censorship on SWAT till D.
Yeah, so digital came in. I mean, I'm talking about my days of making Haram Khor. I made it in 2011. Nobody wanted to touch it. Nobody. I think some 300 people must have seen it over 3-4 years and just made me say कि तुम अच्छे लोग हो but क्या बनाते हो तुम? You know, so nobody wanted to touch it.
Right.
And I used to say कि मैंने तो एक 25 में बनाई है यार. तो मतलब वो अलग दिन थे when we made it. But there was no taker for that. And it was banned and it was A and it was a tough topic. I mean, we won the court case, the PNA happened, and for a 5-year-old film to do like 2.5 crores in like 60 lakhs of PNA, you know, and now there is a big Netflix deal, there's a big satellite deal. It just totally is like the most amazing business sense, you know.
Right.
But it started with, I mean, we put together the film with 10 people from Facebook financing it. Because I was de-risking it from day one, कि चलो divide कर देते हैं, crowdfunding. That time Wishberry was not there. There was no concept of crowdfunding. So it started with that on how we can try and tell a story, which is difficult. And it did not make sense for 5 years. It's
Right.
now made sense. And now it's, I think, the most profitable film that I have seen. I mean, of course, there is Lunchbox, but it's gone up because of Netflix. There was no Netflix. I mean, when we did Peddlers or Monsoon Shootout, or there was no Netflix or Amazon buyers for India. So
Right.
one seen
Well,
more.
the other,
I
Mr.
wanted
Bhatt,
to,
sorry, you want to,
I wanted to add something here, and I wanted to just take off from where Sid said that, and I've just observed that it's harder to put out Hindi films because of PNA, and our PNA is 10x than regional films. So while we make Hindi language independent films, smaller films, we sit on a massive PNA cost, which is double our budget. And it really does not make business sense to put it out there, given the taxes, given the reality, and given the situation of being in a position of doing pan-India marketing and sitting in a position of theatre scarcity and Hollywood and big Bollywood and event films. But the minute you do regional, the PNA is 1/10 the cost. And at any level, even the big stars there, there is a ticket, there is a loyalty of going and seeing that language films, their own this thing, and you sit on a kind of an abundance of cinemas. There is a law, there are the better ways of putting it together. So, you know, I saw it very closely with Masan and Killa, our DOP directed Killa, and I was just like, you know, we make Hindi films and we sit in a position, but you can go out there, make a Serat or make a New Kids, you make films and they make money, and it's regional. So there is a massive growth in Tamil, Gujarati, Telugu,
but do you have
Marathi.
a personal grouse with exhibitors per se or multiplex owners? The fact that your budget is rather low, there is a certain audience that wants to come and watch the film, but the pricing of the ticket remains rather high still.
That is of course one part, but my biggest grudge has been about PNA. That I want to, I mean, when I did produce Dasvidanya, there was a era where we put out a film in 1 crore. And there was an era. So while studios have come in, the scene in Bollywood has been that in Hindi language has been that our P&A costs have increased. I mean, and that has clearly impacted on us trying to make movies in Hindi language. It makes no sense if you get out there, make a film in 3 crores, you kill yourself. It's a good film, but you need 5-6 crores to put it out there.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to come to you, Guneet, because that's an important one. You're not in the casino, as it were. You're not in the business of either doubling or having lost too much. There was a time when all the films that ever went to festivals, or the festival circuit, as it were usually regional cinema. I think you were one of the first people sitting here in Bombay to have spearheaded a certain movement where we can see a film premiering at Cannes, and quite a few of them of yours actually on a yearly basis. Do you think we've reached a point where there can be a market, even if it's a small one, for Indian films to be watched at least in the art house circuit abroad, and not just the ones that we catch here?
You know, समय बदल गया है, समय बदलता रहा है. So the times have changed. Even the art house circuit, those territory-wise conversations have been impacted by Amazon and Netflix. I mean, I'm very excited when I took Kaka Motai to Toronto, not something that I produced, but I saw and it was amazing, and it is a Tamil film, children Tamil film, and introduced it to Toronto. Fox picked it up, and it's one of their top high ROI movies from what the business that it did. So in my world, I wanted to say to Sajid that it is of course ROI.
He's talking to you here.
Sorry.
Of course.
We were discussing ticket rates, sorry.
And in my world, of course, it's ROI driven. You know, what is the ROI? मतलब कुछ इतना high भी नहीं, इतना low भी नहीं है. It is moving towards the plus. But again, just now, we worked on Visarnai. It went to Venice, picked up an award there, made its money, then became India's entry to the Oscars. Right now, film called Ajji, which is going to Busan. Even if you get right now the situation is that even if you get a Korea release offer, an independent offer, but then you get Amazon or Netflix writing off a worldwide territory deal.
Right.
So the world has evolved to that. So what is happening is कि बहुत सारी फिल्में बन रही हैं, but festivals are good at identifying good content and stamping कि चलो ये good cinema है. There is some sort of selection.
And some of it begins to work here as well.
And at least those films are then being picked up at a higher dollar price by Netflix, Amazon. Even they are standardizing. You know, they're not throwing money at everybody.
Right.
So
And then